Hi everyone. I'm Bubbles from Susan's family. Today I'd like to show you a design from the Botanical Sensations series, a minimalist blanket in baby blue version and shell pink version. This blanket consists of the main part, the border, decorations, and the lining. Start by crocheting the main piece. Once it's done, crochet the border. Then make the decorative elements and sew them on. Finally, sew on the lining. The crocheting method for the main part is identical. The only difference lies in the decorations. When you encounter different positions, I will explain them separately. Let's start by learning how to crochet the main part. We will start from foundation chain and work back and forth along the chain. The stitches we will use include chain stitch, double crochet, DC 3 in 1, single crochet, DC 2 in 1, DC 2 bobble stitch, SC 3 in 1, and SC 2 in 1. Now, let's show. To make it more convenient for you to see clearly, I will demonstrate with a different color yarn here. For specific yarn, color schemes and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and paper instructions. Start with a chain stitch. The exact number of stitches is according to the chart. Here my sample has fewer starting chains. After completing the beginning chain, work row 1 next. Make 3 chains to start. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. Then work 1 double crochet in the 5th chain from the hook. Pick up the half loop on top of the chain and work a stitch. Then pick up the half loop from the adjacent chain. Work another double crochet. Continue picking up chains and working double crochets. Complete this row. After all the starting chains are worked, the first row is completed. Consider this side, the right side of this row, as the right side of the entire blanket. That is, the side where the yarn tail is on the left hand, when you started the foundation chain. Now let's work on the second row. Make 3 chains as beginning chain. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet, corresponding to the last stitch of the previous row. If there is no special instruction later, the 3 chains at the start all count as 1 double crochet. Turn the work. Then work double crochets along the stitches from the previous row. Pay attention after turning. The stitch is in the top left position. For the last stitch, pick up from the third chain of the turning chain in the previous row. Work with the 2 threads above. After finishing, the second row is completed. Now everyone refer to the pattern. Continue until you finish the 6th row. Note that after making the turning chain for each row, you need to turn the work and crochet. Next, let's crochet the 7th row. Here I have a small sample swatch, so there are fewer rows. Since the next row requires a color change, secure with a chain stitch. Leave a bit of tail and fasten off the yarn. Then turn the work. Join the yarn first. For this row, crochet into the back loops only of the previous row, which is the strand farther away from you. Start by joining the yarn in the back loop of the last stitch of the previous row. Work 3 chains as beginning chain. In the same stitch, work another double crochet. While crocheting, weave in the ends. Then skip 2 stitches. Work a DC 3-in-1. That is, work 3 double crochets into the same stitch. Pay attention, you need to crochet into the back loops only. Continue repeating this process until you finish the row. Remember to always pick the back loops for crocheting. Finally, pick up a strand from the beginning chain of the previous row. Work a DC 2-in-1, which means making 2 double crochets in the same position. After completing this, row 7 is done. Now let's start row 8. Chain 3 as the beginning chain. Turn your work. Then work 3 double crochets between the DC 2-in-1 and the DC 3-in-1 stitch. This creates a large space. After that, you will see a big hole. Work 3 double crochets in the adjacent large space. Continue with this method. And finish the row. End with 1 double crochet. That completes row 8. Next, refer to the pattern, and keep going until you finish row 18. After completing it, leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Now let's start row 19. Begin by joining the yarn. Here, pick up the stitch normally to join the yarn. Make 1 beginning chain. Then work along the stitches of the previous row, crocheting single crochets. Finish this row. Do not crochet the turning chain from the previous row. That completes row 19. Now let's move on to row 20. Chain 3 as the beginning chain. Turn your work. After flipping, pick up the front loops and crochet. This means the yarn closest to you. Finish crocheting this row. Once done, row 20 is complete. Let's check it out. When picking up the half loops to crochet, make sure that after completing, all the remaining half loops are on the right side. Next, everyone refer to the pattern and keep crocheting all the way down to row 27. Pay attention, after turning on row 26, also pick up the half loops to crochet. Now let's work on row 28. Make 3 chains as beginning chain. Turn the work. First, work double crochets along the stitches with the corresponding number. Then, work 1 DC 2 in 1. Work 1 chain stitch. Skip 3 stitches. Work 1 more DC 2 in 1. Continue referring to the chart to finish this row. After completing it, row 28 is done. Now let's move on to row 29. Work 3 chains as beginning chain. Turn the work. First, crochet the corresponding number of double crochets. Then, work 3 chain stitches. Next, work 1 single crochet in the chain space from the previous row. Work 3 more chain stitches. Continue following the chart to finish this row. After completing it, row 29 is done. Now let's move on to row 30. Work 3 chains as beginning chain. Turn the work. First, crochet the corresponding number of double crochets. Then, work 2 double crochet increases. In between, work 1 chain stitch and skip 3 stitches. After completing it, continue following the stitches. Crochet the corresponding number of double crochets. In the left chain space, first work 1 double crochet. Then, work 1 DC2 bobble stitch. First, work 2 incomplete double crochets in this chain space. There's the first one. Now, work another one. Then yarn over and draw through all the loops on your hook. That completes 1 DC2 bobble stitch. Next, work 3 chains. In the adjacent chain space, work another DC2 bobble stitch. And 1 double crochet. Below, continue to refer to the pattern to finish this row. After completing it, row 30 will be done. Below, continue to follow the chart. Finish the remaining rows of the main piece. The methods and stitch techniques used have been demonstrated before. Just follow the diagram for crocheting. After finishing, don't cut the yarn. Next, work on the final round. First, make 1 beginning chain. Turn the work over. Crochet 1 SC3 in 1 into the last stitch of the previous row. That is, crochet 3 single crochets in the same position. Then, work single crochets evenly into each stitch along the edge. Pick up from the turning chain of the previous row, and crochet 1 SC3 in 1. When you reach the side edge of each row, rotate the piece. If the edge is a beginning chain, pick up the entire beginning chain. Crochet 2 single crochets. If the edge is a double crochet, pick up the entire double crochet and crochet 2 single crochets into it. Repeat this process until you finish this side. When you encounter the side of a single crochet, skip it without crocheting. After completing, you will reach the starting chain position. First, work on the very edge with 1 stitch. Pick up the other 2 strands. Crochet 1 SC3 in 1. Then continue to crochet single crochets into each of the starting chain stitches. Pick up the other 2 strands and crochet. This is the same insertion point as the double crochet. Then continue along the starting chain, crocheting 1 single crochet into each stitch. For the very edge stitch, crochet 1 SC3 in 1. This corresponds to the turning chain and this chain stitch. When you reach the other side edge, follow the same method to crochet. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Pull tight. This completes the final round. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Hide the yarn tails on the wrong side. So, that concludes the main part. Next, we'll crochet the border. It's divided into the inner border and the outer border. Let's start with the inner border. Follow the corresponding row numbers, crochet into the half loop. Now, let's show. Here, I'm crocheting on the 6th row. Let's start with the first row. Place the fabric piece with the starting point facing up. Then, crochet into the very edge stitch. Pick up the remaining half loop and join the yarn. Make one beginning chain. Crochet one single crochet in the same stitch. Then, work one chain. Skip one stitch. This is the stitch. Pick up the strand of yarn that's farther from you and crochet. Work a slip stitch. The slip stitch here is oval shaped, meaning don't pull it too tight. After completing it, work 2 chains. Skip 2 stitches. Work a slip stitch. Pick up the strand of yarn that's farther from you and crochet. Then skip 3 stitches. Crochet 6 double crochets. Work 1 chain in between. After finishing, skip 3 stitches again. Crochet 1 slip stitch. Then work 2 chains. Skip 2 stitches. Crochet another slip stitch. Continue referring to the pattern chart. Finish crocheting this row. Pay attention, all stitches are worked in the half loop. After completing the last single crochet, the first row is done. Next, let's work on the second row. Start with 2 chains. Turn your work. Then, crochet 1 single crochet into the second chain space from the hook in the previous row. Work 1 single crochet there. Then continue by working into the chain spaces between adjacent double crochets. Work 2 double crochets. Chain 3 between them. Continue to the next adjacent chain space. Crochet according to the same method. After completing, work 1 double crochet in the adjacent chain space. Then work 1 chain. Next, move up and skip 2 rows. On the 3rd row, work 1 slip stitch. The position here is not fixed. Once finished, lay flat. Then crochet 1 chain. Continue by working 1 double crochet in this chain space. Next, in the adjacent 2 chain spaces, work 2 double crochets in each space. Chain 3 between the double crochets in the chain spaces. After completing, in the chain space between slip stitches, work 1 single crochet. Below, continue using this method. Refer to the pattern. Complete this row. Note, at the corresponding position, secure the chain stitches to the main piece while crocheting. For all other positions, crochet as usual. Finish this row. After completing the last single crochet, work 2 chains. Then make a slip stitch in the single crochet. Slightly tighten. Leave a yarn tail and fasten off. Hide all the yarn tails on the wrong side. That's how you complete the 2nd row. The lace trim on the 6th row is now crocheted. Next, crochet the edge with half stitches on the remaining part of the 19th row. Here, I'll explain using a finished product as an example. After completing the lace here, it will be opposite to the lace on the 6th row. This means the starting position for the chain should face downward. Then join the yarn and start crocheting from the very edge stitch. When crocheting the 2nd row, you also need to go upwards, skipping 2 rows. On the 3rd row, secure it in place with a slip stitch at the corresponding position. For the lace on the following rows, the pattern is also every 2 rows of lace matching each other. The method is the same as these 2 rows. Everyone, refer to the chart and finish crocheting the inner side lace. That concludes the explanation for this side's lace. Next, we'll crochet the outer side lace. There are 2 layers. Let's start with the first layer. Crochet along the front loops of the main bodice edging. Now, let's show. First, crochet the first round. Work SC3 in 1 in the first stitch. Pick up the front loop of the first stitch and join the yarn. Make 3 chains as the beginning chain. Then crochet 1 more chain. Next, in the same stitch, where you joined the yarn, work 7 double crochets. Work 1 chain in between. After completing it, skip 3 stitches and work 1 slip stitch. Pay attention to picking up the front loops while crocheting. Then crochet 2 chains. Skip 2 stitches, and work another slip stitch. Continue referring to the pattern chart. Finish crocheting this side. It's completed. There is 1 single crochet left on this side. We've reached the corner again. Skip 3 stitches, which means the 3rd stitch of the SC3 in 1. Work 8 double crochets in this stitch. Work 1 chain in between. Below, continue with this method. Finish crocheting this round. Pay attention to the corner and refer to the chart. Insert the hook in the corresponding position and crochet. After completing, connect to the 3rd chain of the beginning chain. Pick up the 2 strands of yarn above. Work a slip stitch to join. Tighten it. That completes the first round. Next, we'll crochet the second round. Start with a slip stitch transition in the chain space on the left. Then make 3 chains as the beginning chain. Work 3 more chains. Continue by working 1 double crochet in the same chain space. in the chain space between this group of double crochets. Work 2 double crochets each. Chain 3 between them. After completing, work 1 single crochet in the chain space between slip stitches. Continue below using the same method. Refer to the pattern and complete this round. After finishing, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Leave a yarn tail, fasten off, and weave in the ends. The second round is now complete. This completes the first layer of the outer lace border. Next, we will crochet the second layer of the outer lace border. Here, I'll explain using a pre-made example. Start by working SC3 in 1 corner stitch, corresponding to picking up the back loop only for joining the yarn. Then, refer to the chart and continue crocheting. Note that for this round, you will only pick up the back loops while crocheting. After completing, work another round of double crochets. The methods for the last 2 rounds are identical to the first layer of the lace border, except for the first round. All subsequent rounds normally involve picking up stitches and crocheting. Now everyone can follow the method we learned earlier. Refer to the pattern and finish crocheting it. This concludes the explanation of the second layer of lace. Up to this point, the entire lace section is complete. Finally, let's make some decorations, such as strawberries and bows, stars. The shell pink version also includes a rabbit, while the baby blue version includes a bear. I'll first explain separately how to crochet the rabbit and the bear. Let's start with the rabbit. It consists of the main piece, a bow, eyes, and a nose. Start by crocheting the main piece. We will start from foundation chain. Follow the magic ring, form a loop. The stitch techniques used include half double crochet, SC2 in 1, and HDC2 in 1. Now, let's show. Start with 6 chain stitches. Then, we'll crochet the first round. Make 2 chain stitches as beginning chain. Next, work on the third to last chain stitch. Crochet 1 half double crochet. Continue along the foundation chain. Work 4 half double crochets. Then, make 5 half double crochets in the first chain stitch. After completing, rotate the piece. Crochet symmetrically on the other side of the chain. That is, pick up the other 2 strands and work. Start with 4 half double crochets. Then, in the same insertion position as the first half double crochet, add 3 more half double crochets. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Tighten the yarn. That completes the first round. Next, let's work on the second round. Make 1 beginning chain. In the same position as the slip stitch, work 1 SC2 in 1, that is, make 2 single crochets in the same stitch. After completing, make 1 HDC2 in 1 in the adjacent stitch, that is, make 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. After completing, make 5 chain stitches. Then, working into the second chain from the hook, make 4 slip stitches. Next, continue along the stitches from the previous round, and make 4 double crochets. Then make 1 HDC2 in 1. Let's start with the first stitch. After completing the first half double crochet, make 5 more chain stitches. Then, starting from the second to last stitch, make 4 slip stitches. After that, make 1 half double crochet. Continue crocheting along the stitches from the previous round. Once the final HDC2 in 1 is completed, do not finish with a slip stitch. This completes the second round. Next, we'll move on to the third round. Start by crocheting slip stitches along the stitches in sequence. Next, at the chain stitch position, make 1 single crochet. Here, insert the hook in the same entry position as the slip stitch to crochet. Then make 1 half double crochet. Make 1 double crochet. After that, at the adjacent slip stitch in the same insertion point, make 7 double crochets. Once completed, rotate the piece. Crochet symmetrically along the other side with matching stitches. After finishing, skip 2 stitches from the previous round. Make 1 slip stitch. Now, we're back at the chain stitch position. Crochet according to the method used earlier. After finishing, continue making slip stitches along the stitch edges. Once the last slip stitch is completed, leave a tail about 30 centimeters long and cut the yarn. Then tuck in the ends to finish off. Thread the yarn tail into a darning needle. First, draw the yarn through the first slip stitch. Then go back to where the yarn tail is located, and draw it through. Slightly tighten it. The finishing stitch is now complete. This completes the main fabric piece for the rabbit. Next, we will crochet the bow. We will start from foundation chain and continue crocheting along the chain stitches. Now, let's show. Foundation chain 8 STS. Next, start crocheting the first round. Make 1 beginning chain. Then work 1 slip stitch in the second to last stitch. Work 1/2 double crochet in each of the next 2 adjacent stitches. Continue by referring to the pattern chart. Finish all the chain stitches. After completing, work 1 more chain stitch, then rotate the piece, crochet symmetrically along the other side of the chains. After finishing, pick up the braid from the first slip stitch. Join with a slip stitch. Then leave about a 15 cm tail, and cut the yarn. Next, sew the bow to the left side of the rabbit's main piece. You can also sew it in a position based on your preference. First, thread the yarn tail through the needle, then bring the yarn tail to approximately the middle position on the wrong side. Wrap around the middle about 3 to 5 times. Tie a knot to secure it. Then sew at the corresponding position. There is no specific requirement for the sewing method, just make sure it's secure. Now the bow is sewn on. Next, let's sew the eyes and embroider the nose. Start with the starting point. Sew the eyes roughly at both ends, then sew the nose between the eyes. Now, let's sew. Let's start by sewing the eyes. Cut a 30 cm length of the corresponding color yarn. Take one strand from it. Insert it into a finer sewing needle. First, secure the tail of the thread on the wrong side. Then stitch out to sew the eye. After finishing one, transition the yarn to the other side on the back. Sew the other eye as well. Once the eyes are done, let's embroider the nose. Start at the approximate middle position. Embroider another horizontal bar. Then embroider a vertical segment. Press down on the horizontal line while stitching. After finishing, tie off the thread on the wrong side and hide it. That's it for the eyes and nose. Lastly, you can add blush to the ears and around the eyes, according to your preference. And there you have it, a completed rabbit. Next, follow the same method. Crochet all the remaining rabbits. That concludes the rabbits. Now let's move on to crocheting a bear. We will start with a slip knot foundation chain. Work in rounds following the magic ring, form a loop. The new stitch technique used here is DC 3-in-1. Now, let's show. The starting chain and the first two rounds of crochet methods are almost identical to the rabbit. There are just slight differences in the number of stitches. Also, there's no need to crochet chain stitches on the second round. Just work along the stitch pattern. Now let's move on to the third round. Start with 3 slip stitches. Then crochet 2 chain stitches. Next, work a DC 3-in-1 into the adjacent stitch. After completing it, add 1 chain stitch. Then continue along the stitch pattern. Work 5 slip stitches in sequence. After finishing, crochet 1 more chain stitch, then work a DC 3-in-1 into the adjacent stitch. Crochet 2 more chain stitches afterward. Continue working slip stitches along the stitch pattern. Work this round completely. Once done, leave a yarn tail of about 30 centimeters. Then fasten off. This completes one bare fabric piece. After the piece is finished, proceed to sew on the eyes and embroider the nose. The method is almost the same as for the rabbit. First, sew the two eyes in place. They are positioned at both ends of the starting point. Sew the eyes. After sewing, embroider the nose in the middle position. Start by embroidering 3 line segments that cover about 1 stitch. Then embroider another line segment downward. When embroidering the vertical line segment, there's no need to press down on the horizontal line segments above. After finishing, weave in the ends on the wrong side. That concludes the eyes and the nose. Finally, you can also add blush according to your preference. On the cheeks near the ears and eyes, apply the blush there. And that completes the little bear. Next, use the same method to crochet the remaining bears. That's it for the bears. Now let's learn how to crochet a strawberry. It consists of the main piece, leaves, and dots. Let's start by crocheting the main piece. We will start from foundation chain. First, work back and forth along the starting chain. Then continue crocheting in rounds. Now, let's show. Foundation chain 7 STS. Then crochet row 1. Make 1 beginning chain. Begin from the second to last stitch. Work single crochets along the starting chain. After finishing, row 1 is complete. Next, everyone refer to the pattern, and crochet rows 2, 3 as well. Now let's move on to row 4. Work 1 chain as beginning chain. Turn the work. Skip 1 stitch first. Start from the adjacent stitch and crochet 4 single crochets. Then skip 1 stitch again. Crochet 1 single crochet. That completes row 4. Now let's work on row 5. Chain 1 as beginning chain. Turn the work. Then work single crochets evenly into each stitch. That completes row 5. Now let's move on to row 6. Chain 1 as beginning chain. Skip 1 stitch. Crochet 2 single crochets first. Then skip 1 stitch again. Work 1 single crochet. Row 6 is now complete. Next, let's work the final round. Chain 1 as beginning chain. Turn the work. Crochet 1 single crochet. Work 1 SC2 in 1. And 1 more single crochet. Now we move to the side. Work 5 single crochets evenly along the side. After completing, return to the starting point. At the very edge, work 1 SC2 in 1. Then continue with 5 single crochets. Work another SC2 in 1. Move down to the other side. Similarly, work 5 single crochets evenly along the side. After finishing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Pull tight. Leave a yarn tail of about 30 centimeters and cut the yarn. This completes the main fabric piece of the strawberry. Now let's move on to crocheting the leaves. Use the magic ring method. Work around the ring. Now, let's show. Start with a magic ring. Then work 3 chains. Next, from the second stitch from your hook, work 2 single crochets. Then, in the large space of the starting ring, work 1 slip stitch. Pull tight. Then chain 5. From the second stitch from your hook, work 2 single crochets. Then work 2 half double crochets. Next, in the large space of the starting ring, work 1 slip stitch. Continue repeating this process, refer to the chart. Complete this round. After finishing, tighten the ring. Then leave a long yarn tail, and break the yarn. That's how you finish crocheting the leaf. Next, sew the leaf to the starting end of the strawberry. Place the longer sides on both left and right. Now, let's sew. Thread the reserved yarn tail into a sewing needle. Place the leaf in the corresponding position. Sew the close parts together. Pick up the wrong side loops and sew it onto the main body of the strawberry. After finishing, tie off and weave in the ends neatly. Also, weave the starting yarn tail to the wrong side and hide it. That's how you complete the leaf. Next, embroider dots onto the main body of the strawberry. Use the French knot method for embroidery. The position and quantity of the dots are random. Now, let's sew. Cut about 30 centimeters of the corresponding color yarn. Thread it into a sewing needle. Start on the wrong side first. Secure the yarn tail well. Then pull out the needle. Next, press the sewing needle with your left thumb. Then wrap the yarn twice around the needle. Insert the needle again. Slightly tighten. That completes one French knot. Now everyone can follow the same method. Continue embroidering dots randomly. After finishing, tie a knot on the wrong side and hide it well. That concludes how to make the dots. That concludes the strawberry. Next, we'll crochet a bow. It is divided into two parts. The crocheting method for these two parts is almost identical, except for a slight difference in the number of stitches. Both start with the foundation chain method, and work following the magic ring to form a loop. Below, you can refer to the pattern to crochet. That concludes how to crochet the bow. Now, let's assemble the two parts of the bow. First, thread the reserved yarn tail from part 1 into a sewing needle. Fold both ends inward. Secure it in place. Then, take out the second part. Place the middle section of part 2 underneath and in the center of part 1. Next, use the yarn tail to wrap around the middle a few times. Finally, secure the yarn tail well. Do not trim the excess tail for now. Hide the yarn tail from part 2 on the wrong side. That completes one bow. Following the same method, finish all the remaining bows. That concludes the tutorial for bows. Next, let's crochet stars. Use the magic ring technique to start. Follow the magic ring, form a loop. The new stitch used here is treble crochet. Now, let's show. Start with a magic ring. Then crochet the first round. Work 2 chains as beginning chain. Crochet 9 half double crochets into the large space of the magic ring. Tighten the ring. Join with a slip stitch to the top of the beginning chain. Pull tight. That completes the first round. Now let's move on to the second round. Work 1 chain as beginning chain. Crochet 1 single crochet in the same position as the slip stitch. Pull the yarn tail tighter. Then crochet 1 half double crochet in the next adjacent stitch. One double crochet. One chain. One treble crochet. Yarn over twice. Insert the hook. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. Repeat 3 times. This completes 1 treble crochet. Next, crochet the stitch pattern symmetrical to the right side of the treble crochet. After completing, crochet 1 single crochet in the adjacent stitch. Continue referring to the pattern chart. Work this round completely. After finishing, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Tighten. Leave a long yarn tail and break the yarn. This completes one star. Following the same method, finish crocheting the remaining stars. That concludes the section on crocheting stars. The decorative elements of the crochet piece have now been fully covered. Next, sew the decoration onto the main body. Let's take a look at the finished product. Sew along this row of treble crochets. You can refer to the diagram for the placement. Alternatively, you can sew according to your preference. The sewing method is the same for all parts. Below, I will use a bear as an example. Let me demonstrate the sewing technique. Thread the reserved yarn tail into a darning needle. Place the wrong side of the fabric piece against the right side of the main body. Then pick up the loops on the wrong side and sew it onto the main piece. Make sure this area is sewn securely. There's no need to sew all the way around. Note: my sample here is only demonstrating the sewing method. For the exact position, refer to the layout of the finished product. If you're sewing a rabbit, you can adjust according to your preference and secure the ears in place. After sewing, tie a knot on the wrong side and weave in the ends. That's it, our little bear is now sewn together. Next, follow the same method for the remaining parts. Sew the rest of the decorations. For the strawberry, rabbit, and star sewing methods. They are almost identical to that of the bear. When sewing the bow, place the connection points of both sides at the back. Then pick up the loops on the wrong side and sew them to the main piece. Next, you can sew everything together on your own. Finally, let's sew the lining. I'll explain using a pre-made example here. Here's another sewing method. First, roughly secure the lining fabric on the second layer of lace, slightly below its position. Then, proceed to fasten it. Before securing, you need to wash and iron the lining fabric from the kit. This removes any excess dye and pre-shrinks the fabric. Afterwards, on the back side of the blanket, iron the blanket. After that, sew it together. Let's watch a demonstration first. Then we'll proceed with the sewing. I'll demonstrate the securing method using this small sample. Lay the blanket out flat with the backside facing up. Place the lining fabric on top of the blanket. The lining fabric should completely cover the blanket. In reality, the blanket is larger, for convenience when sewing. You can secure the lining fabric and the blanket together with pins first. If you don't have pins, you can use safety pins as a substitute, or you can also temporarily secure it with thread. In practice, you should choose more positions to secure. This will prevent the seams from being uneven. Secure the four corners first. Then secure the 4 sides. Finally, secure the center position. After securing, trim the lining first. There are no specific requirements for where to cut. Just make sure to trim around the edges of the lining fabric. Just make sure it's more than 3 centimeters longer than the edge of the sewing position. This way, the blanket and the lining fabric are secured together. Below, I will continue to demonstrate the sewing method using this small sample. First, take the corresponding lining horizontally. Fold it along the edge towards the inside. Here, I am folding along the edge of the crocheted border towards the inside. The exact position depends on personal preference. Make sure the edges of the lining are roughly level with the first round of the crocheted border. Then proceed with the sewing. Here, I cut a 1 meter length of thread. Take one strand of it. Thread it into the sewing needle. For the specific sewing line, please refer to the chart. Fold the yarn in half. Tie a knot at the end. Start sewing from any side. Insert the needle slightly to the right of a corner position. Secure it close to the edge where you will sew. Insert the needle into the sewing position. Pull out a part of the yarn tail. Thread it through the reserved yarn loop. Tighten and secure the yarn tail well. Here we use the whip stitch method. Insert the needle into the fabric piece. Pick up a few strands from the wrong side of the first round of the edging. Sew once at the edge position of the lining fabric. Make sure the thread doesn't go through to the right side of the fabric. Slightly tighten the yarn. Leave a little space between stitches. Insert the needle through a few strands, on the wrong side of the first round of the fabric piece. At the corresponding position of the lining fabric edge. Sew it again. Slightly tighten the yarn. Repeat this process, and continue sewing until you finish the rest of this edge. Adjust the position while sewing, to prevent it from being sewn crooked. Before reaching the corner, fold the edge of the lining for the next side inward as well. Continue sewing. Adjust the position while sewing. Pay attention to avoid sewing crooked. At the corner, the distance for inserting the needle can be a little closer. Sew it so that it lies flat. After finishing sewing the corner, follow these steps, and continue sewing. If you run out of yarn, tie off the yarn tail on the wrong side to secure it. Pick up the new yarn and sew together. Continue sewing around until this circle is done. Once completed, you can secure along the edge of the sewing position and weave in the ends. This is the method for sewing the lining fabric. To make the blanket flatter, you can iron it on the back side to set the shape of the blanket again. Up to this point, the entire tutorial for this blanket is complete. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.